Narcissism. It's that nasty behavioral trait in all of us that we in our codependence would like to just ignore. It's that tedious, nagging bone of contention caused when someone else's narcissism infringes on ours and we don't know how to handle it. This is just my perspective according to my experience and study on this subject, of course. I'd like us to travel deep down into the hidden realm, past psychology, and into the unknown regions of the human design. Indulge me just a little, if you please. I'd like us to give this deeper contemplation as we strive to survive this tumultuous world as we struggle to fit in. These are just my reasonings in this video, my conjectures, my thoughts as I wander into the hidden construct of human nature. I have discovered in my own healing the well of insight that forced me to look at myself honestly and earnestly. I've learned a lot in 8 years since I stumbled on the term narcissism, and I am still learning, and every bit of insight is valuable as we are all in this together. So please sit back and allow me to share my thoughts with you. I want to delve a little bit deeper into the details of narcissism, if I may. This insight may cause you a little bit of angst within your gut. It may cause you to become uncomfortable as maybe your offenses cause you to wrestle within yourself. I say this in warning because we all are wrestling with our egos. And in learning to rid myself of mine gently and delicately, sitting here in the quiet space of meditation has allowed me to view myself as I am, not as how I perceived myself to be. I now understand narcissistic personality differently than what I once did, and I have come to some startling conclusions. I don't know if I'm right. I don't have to be right. I just need this information to make sense to me so that I can heal my way in a way that feels right. Because I want to be the best version that I can be for me and for you. Now, if you can agree to this, then for me, this information is confirmation. But if you don't agree, well, maybe I have some work to do. Or maybe you and I both do. I'm just thankful that you are watching as I enjoy getting real with this depth of insight. Knowledge has many layers, and while we may not have the same experience, we will eventually get there, to a point where we meet up together in our healing. The videos I share on YouTube with you, well, I hope at least they help you in some small way. I hope they help you release your heart of the bitterness that prevents you from becoming the you God wants you to be. We all know that a little dose of narcissism within each of us is healthy. It is necessary, and clinicians know that every child is narcissistic. It just dissipates with maturity, I suppose. We all can relate to one another through the various 6 degrees of separation that exist within narcissism. We just don't like to look at ourselves too deeply now, do we? The narcissism within you isn't the same as what's in me. And it's not the same in any narcissist for that matter. Oh, don't get this twisted. I'm not saying that you or I are narcissists. It takes a psychiatrist to make that determination. I do know this, that if you or I have been victimized by a narcissist, that in itself sets us apart from narcissism. Because according to clinicians, you and I are codependent. Through my own experience, I have learned, as I am learning, to embrace my codependence by creating it to become more healthier, while letting go of my narcissism in my ego form. That's the little girl inside of me, who through using the ego refused to grow up. The narcissist that came into my life, well, challenged my resolve, as so did or do the narcissists in your life. The codependence within us is not yet mature, as it's not yet narcissism. But that's my assessment. These two paradigm shifts are two sides of the same coin. Narcissism is one form of the extreme, while codependence is the other. Let's take a deeper look into this from our childhood upbringing. We who are considered codependent, we in our households growing up were not given the freedom to express ourselves in any self-defining way to others. Our codependence didn't mature and develop into narcissistic personality disorder. Oh, sure, we knew how to express narcissism, and at times we did. But our codependence would not allow us to use our narcissism in any negative way. And because our codependence has been developed in an unhealthy way, as we didn't receive the required healthy attention from our parents, as our codependence didn't demand it from them, like narcissism demands from parents. We didn't give in to temper tantrums. We didn't whine and beg. We didn't steal. We didn't manipulate our parents to giving us what we wanted. We quietly remained at their side, and our silence held us steady. Well, we observed, but we did not ask. We did not demand, but we waited patiently for our turn. When it was our turn to receive our parents' attention, affection, and gifts, the little we did gain was the stroke to the heart that we needed, and we savored every last drop. We held on to it and refused the memory of it to fade. Like a pin drop, we waited for that next pin prick to open our hearts as we in our devotion waited with devoted breath. Oh, we were the opposite of our demanding brothers and sisters now, weren't we? We were the opposite of those tyrannical, demanding children that we see that evoke terror on the streets today, demanding attention and demanding to be heard from their parents. We, as codependents, are the patient ones, and it's thanks to our upbringing, this behavior is in us now as adults. It is what takes precedence. It's our dominant nature. Thank God we didn't go the other way. We didn't develop the ways of the full-blown narcissist. Good golly, the trouble these kids put their parents through today? We witnessed it then, and we witness it now as adults. The adult narcissist is a stunted child in an adult's body, are they not? Oh, thank God we're not them. Just wait a minute. Let's not go assuming our perfection as codependents, because if we were perfect, we wouldn't have been victimized by the narcissist now, would we? Narcissism is extreme, and so too codependence. Both traits are natural as we see these traits in our Father, God in heaven, through his Son Jesus. Oh, how so, you may ask? Well, I often wonder why Jesus did not get upset when people turned away from him or assumed he was speaking lies. He didn't defend himself, nor did he open his mouth when beaten or confronted with semantics from the enemy. He didn't cry. He didn't turn to PTSD. He didn't retreat into infantile regression. We know that Jesus left his teachings for us to model ourselves by. So why is it so hard to stand quiet and not defend ourselves before the enemy? It's because I believe narcissism and codependence go hand in hand. They are the yin and yang, and they are the opposite sides of the same coin. To find peace within each, we have to marry or integrate the two together in order to find a common ground and harmony within. So we can find harmony within others. There needs to be a healthy balance of narcissism and codependence within us, as these two traits are interdependent. The toxic narcissist who grew up not knowing empathy monopolizes on our codependence and uses this for their gain, while trying to dismantle the narcissism inside of us that is dominant and barely utilized. This narcissism holds us to healthy boundaries, but the codependence within, that dominating nature, won't allow the narcissist within us to step in and take over. It's better that we give ourselves over to them, the toxic narcissist that we love instead. The narcissist takes what we can give, but also demands to take what is inside of us by force to make us more like them. and this upsets the status quo. This challenges who we are, and this causes a shifting and unbalance of codependence is played and used against the narcissism inside of us, and the narcissism is played against our codependence inside of us. This causes a rift. It's the shadow Carl Jung spoke about, and finding a way to integrate it has no bearing on anything when we are caught in the narcissist's grip and have lost all sense and sensibility of who we truly are. We use our codependence in attempts to get the narcissist to become more like us. Oh, we don't try to change the narcissist. We just give to them from what is in us to give, and we hope and believe and pray that they will see our good, kind, loving nature and automatically change so that they will be more suited to us, and also so they will become happier in life. Well, that's what we tell ourselves. We want them to change for us, and we also want them to change for their benefit. Well, the narcissist wants to change us for their benefit. What we don't realize is that we are using our codependence narcissistically, and we are none the wiser. It can't work. It will not work. That is equivalent to spinning a lie into a truth just because the word Christian is attached to it. Narcissism is a growing epidemic, and most of us have been severely abused, mentally, physically, and emotionally traumatized by narcissists. And even though they are the ones with the problem, oh, we suffer. We suffer greatly. We suffer in a way that most people can't even imagine. Most people will never know our pain and struggle, but we will tell anyone who will listen. This is what he did. Can you imagine what he did? He can't just take his lying, cheating ways and get away with it. He can hit the highway. Can you believe he abandoned me and the kids just like that? This is the story we tell other people. We feel a sense of validation when we share our stories, and they're good stories to share. Talking does help, but only if we are willing to talk to heal, not to validate our pain. To validate our pain is to acknowledge the hurt and lend our vulnerable hearts to bitterness. When we do this, the one who hurt us is still victimizing us. Hi, my name is Shannon Gilmore, and I too have been victimized by someone else's narcissism. Now this video is not to shame, judge, belittle anyone. And I want you to know right now that I do acknowledge your pain. But I won't sit here and help you validate it and allow you to wear it like a badge of honor. I know that sounds harsh, but I'm not intending to be harsh. I'm wanting to be real, honest, and authentic with you because that is what I discovered in the path to my own healing. You want healing from narcissistic victimization? I know you do. You and I both want the same thing. But some of us do not heal. Even though we start off on the right foot, somehow we deviate from our heart's purpose because it's easier to continually point the finger in the narcissist's direction instead of redirecting our finger in our own direction. If we were not dysfunctional internally, we would not, as I am convinced, we could not be victimized. Somehow we gave away our power for someone to injure us in the ways that they have. Why? This answer can only come from within. We cannot answer the question outside of ourselves. It's easier to lay blame on someone else. When we put the blame on us, it is then when we have to take responsibility for it. That is why I'm here in this video, to help you take that responsibility, because I too have been there. I have been victimized, and I allowed myself to be victimized myself by blame shifting so that I could put all the blame on the ones who victimized me. And yes, there was more than one. And yes, we are all victims, but we do not stay victims. Staying a victim is by choice. Once you get in the know, you have a responsibility to not only yourself to get healthy, but to others. Other people like you who do not know what to do. When we are struggling, we don't like to hear the truth. We can't bear to hear the truth. And the truth is, in our victimization, we at some point have to take responsibility. The red flags were there. We just didn't see them at first. But when it was too late and they were obvious, we ignored them. That is a choice that we made for whatever reason. Many times it's to keep ourselves safe, and that is to be commended, never belittled. You did what you did to keep yourself safe. That was the best choice you could have made. I know, I've been there. For me, it was better to keep my mouth shut than to get hit or called a name and then to fight for hours that would seem unending. We do what we need to do for survival. There's no shame in that. And I get that. And now that we are out of a disaster zone of a situation, sometimes it is as if we are set on autopilot. We continue to set ourselves in a motion that used to work for us, but because we are out, we are stuck in a rut, like a bird trapped in a cage, not realizing that the door to freedom is permanently open. Instead, we keep feeding our pain, adding fuel to the fire when the toxic person is no longer available. When he or she is out of our lives for good, we, in our pain, ruminate by holding them close. And it is us who refuses to let them go. We keep them victimizing us in our hearts and in our minds, and this is seemingly all we have ever known. We hold them to our victimization by sharing our story repeatedly, but never releasing the pain. This is the toxic side of codependency, and once you recognize it, you can't ignore it. When we do this, ignoring it, we become a narcissist to ourselves. We emotionally beat ourselves up and continue the fight even though the relationship is long over. It's a battle inside of ourselves, our wounded souls against our minds. I know, I've been there. The brainwashing, it's insidious. The infantile regression left me in a puddle drowning in my own tears. The Stockholm Syndrome left me yearning and desiring my victimizers as I felt so alone and afraid. The PTSD had me triggered at every nuance at life, and friends seemed to walk around me tender-footed. I was a mess, and I had no idea how long I was a mess. I covered up my pain, as most of us do. I overate. I turned to television and gaming. I covered up my fat with baggy clothes. I self-isolated and put on a smile and dealt with my pain, mostly because at the time I was isolated, literally. We all go through similar abuses, girlfriend, and it is so comforting to share our story to help us feel like we are not alone. Talking is not a bad thing. Sharing in our pain is therapeutic. However, when we share continuously and healing does not come, and we still find ourselves holding on to anger, bitterness, revenge, and hate, this is where I have to draw the line. As your Christian life coach, peer support mentor, and sister in heavenly arms, I have to warn you, and I have to help you put a stop to this destructive behavior. We are allowed to blame our victimizers, but we are only allowed to blame them for so long. Somewhere along the healing journey, we have to let go and start taking responsibility for ourselves. It is necessary in order for the healing transition to take place. We have to let go of their responsibility for the way they treated us. By us continually talking about it is a way to hold them responsible, but they will never be held accountable. We have to let that go. How? How do we let go of this need to feel validated in our pain? How do we let go of the desire to nail the abuser to the wall by sharing with others our hurt? Sharing with others allows us to take our voice back, especially when we have been triangulated. Sharing our stories allow us to understand the gaslighting at play when we had no one to help question the situation or the motives behind the situation that we found confusing. Sharing our trauma gives us our voice back when we were silenced with the confusion of that word salad drama, the hoovering and the love bombing, the devaluation and the final discard. All this is healthy and necessary, and it is important for each of us, each time we share our story, to release the pain. Releasing the pain helps us to see the fundamental reason why we share it in the first place. To heal by setting ourselves free from the grip of the narcissist. That grip is to hold us to their control, lifelong. Sharing to set ourselves free helps us to understand that all that the narcissist does is a series of brainwashing tactics that set out to disarm our integrity so that we can help them dismantle our souls. Let me share with you a deeper analogy. Think of a vampire who goes after the helpless victim. The vampire woos the girl. He gets her to fall in love with him. He seemingly falls in love with her, but his love is a love for her blood. Her blood helps him stay alive. He needs her blood. He wants her blood. He desires her blood as her blood is his lifeline. He woos her and courts her long enough for her to give up what she wants to give. Oh, he could take it, of course, but then she wouldn't be his. Her blood tastes so much better with love for him in it. Life is in the blood, as God says. And life from a stranger gives the vampire life, but life from the one who loves him, oh, there's healing and longevity in that. He can feed off of her love and her blood. When she freely gives to him through his deception, it's still her free will that gives to him. Her love is his supply, and each time he drinks from her, he drains her a little more. So she needs to feed on him. Ah, this is difficult to do. She tries it once, but the blood is thick and the taste is off-putting. She has no desire to feed off of his blood. There's no love in it. She loves him, but there has to be another way. She wants her life back, but she can't go back. There's no turning to the way she once was. She is forever seared with his mark. This is a lie he has told her. This is a lie he has taught her well, so that she remain forever dependent on him, as he needs her. She is his lifeline. She is his reason to live. He needs not her love, but her blood that contains love for him. He cannot get access to her love any other way. He must feel what she feels for him. She feels through her blood the love she has for him, and this is what makes him feel worthwhile. He, through her, feels validated and gains his self-worth, knowing that even though he is dark and mystery and anomaly, her life's blood will keep him alive. That is, until she becomes tired of the constant ritual. And he knows she eventually will. She'll discover his heart someday, and that will be sooner rather than later. His heart is always empty. If she feeds on him, she'll become loveless, dead inside like him. The vampire has created a vampire in unequal standing. The male vampire needs the female, as she is born with love. It is human nature to nurture and be nurtured with love. The vampire can get his love supply from her, but where will she get her love supply? Other humans will shun her for who she has become. She is like him, but not quite. She needs to feed too, so he convinces her. But if she feeds on the empty shell that he is, taking in his blood, she will only get her love back to her, and he will lose the supply of love he needs. She will soon find out who he really is, a parasite, and nothing more. People can heal themselves from parasites. We just have to learn how. He begins to pull away, and she draws closer to him, and his sick, twisted, sinister need takes from her as she is willing to give to him one last time. He feels her love, in desperation as he feeds on her blood. He knows this is one of the last times he'll ever have her like this. The damage is done. He discards her, and she is forever changed, not realizing that the love within her is the key to setting herself free. The love within her is the way back to her wholeness. The love within her she has for him is the only way for her to find her way out. But she is lost and has no idea where to look. She warns people, shares with others her romantic tale of love and how she was wronged and spurned by a lover who was the love of her life. It's hard to tell people he was a vampire. No one will ever show her that kind of love again, as she is convinced of his love. And no one will ever show her that kind of hate ever again either. This is her vow. Never realizing healing is taking place if she would just open up her heart to herself. The spirit of the parasite left behind dies, and she becomes born anew to the woman, the human she has always meant to be. Being abused by a toxic person, by a narcissist, in my point of view, is equivalent to being in love with a vampire. I remember I used to have dreams of being approached by a vampire and desiring that kind of love. That desire for me that a vampire could give, and having the love I have always dreamed of from him, was something very naive, I admit. Not realizing that watching these TV shows in my youth, I had a lot of growing up to do and didn't understand the intention behind the desire of the vampire. I didn't understand his selfish need. I had no idea his love was fake. I had no idea that the vampire was an empty shell of a person, a parasite. And I had no idea that is exactly what a narcissist projects onto their victims. They are incomplete just as we are, but in a different, more toxic way. Both narcissist and victim, a codependent, we don't know who we are. The narcissist robs us of our identity by keeping us from discovering our identity. From my personal experience, it is only after leaving the narcissist have I been able to heal from their brainwashing so that I could find my identity within myself. No, I didn't find who I was within the comforts of making new friends or a new love interest. I found my worth by seeking inwardly. I found myself by looking for myself. It took the narcissist to leave me clues in their trauma and crazy making for me to open my eyes and see what they were showing me all along. The narcissist introduced me to me. I just couldn't see it because the narcissist was trying to eradicate that little self-worth I had. And because they were too close to me, I took what they were doing to me personal. As soon as I got away and was free from their grip, I gained a new perspective. I realized they caused me to strengthen my self-worth, and when I was ready and strong enough to look at my self-worth in the eye by becoming honest with myself, I then began to look at myself so that I could fix myself. I began repairing the things in me that I saw were broken. I began repairing the things in me, the things they broke, because these things in me were weak to begin with. I saw how the narcissist exposed me to me, but I covered up those exposed layers with the symptoms of abuse. I turned to infantile regression, self-doubt, and self-pity. I turned to PTSD and triggering mechanisms to help me cope with their trauma. The narcissist gave me the mud and I slung it at myself. This is what I would like you to understand today. If you are struggling with narcissistic abuse in any way, I do sympathize, and you have every right to be mad. You have every right to cry. You have every right to feel sadness and mourn that loss. You do not have the right to continue to allow your victimization to happen by sharing in your pain that does not allow you to rise up above and continually point the finger at your victimizer. God will call them into account. I promise you he will. They will get their comeuppance. Your healing does take time, and it has to be at your own pace. This video is to help you understand that you can get better. You can heal, and I know you will. In order for you to heal, you have to be proactive in your own healing. It is good to learn the ways of the narcissist. It's good to educate yourself on their behavior. However, if you do not educate yourself on your own behavior and why you allowed yourself to enter into an agreement with the narcissist by getting into a relationship with them or continuing one, you will find yourself entering that merry-go-round in life that keeps you bound in a pattern of rinse and repeat. Now, I have written a book on narcissism. Yes, it is a book that helps you become aware of the narcissistic abuse from both clinical and biblical assertions. This book also shares with you how to heal using God as your mentor, your counselor, as He is your Father and He knows you best. In this book, I share with you the possibility that a narcissist, and most of them are not aware of who they are. Most of them are not aware that they carry a spirit within that is void of love. From a biblical perspective, I share with you a common theme among most narcissists that we are warned about. The common theme among all narcissists has everything to do with the curse that was given to Adam and Eve and the enemy as their transgressions were found out and they were cast out of heaven. Would you say that a vampire is a soulless creature? Would you say that a vampire, from a Christian perspective, is a child of the darkness? Even a child of the enemy? Would you say that vampirism is demonic? I can't believe that I watched these types of movies and was enamored by them as a teen, but I wasn't a Christian then, and so I didn't know better. Now that we know better, it is our responsibility to do better by becoming aware. The book that I have written, entitled Narcissism, the Bad Boy Image, helps you to become aware of things that from a clinical point of view you may already know, but from a biblical perspective, you may need some reminding. In this book, I share with you scientific evidence of what the Bible hints at, as I also share with you the scientific evidence that narcissists are stunted in their growth as they are stuck in their infantile egos for a reason. They cannot outgrow their childlike nature. They are incapable of maturing, as it literally is not in their neuronal pathway patterns to care and empathize with us, because they are like feral children. You are welcome to purchase this book in paperback on Amazon or in PDF copy for immediate download at my sister site, gumroad.com/lifecoachshannon. Using my sister site will actually help me, as Amazon is price gouging you and I both, and this is unfair. Regardless of how you make your purchase, I want to make this option available to you today. I do have a course available that is centered around the contents of this book. I share with you deeper insight as I am still learning and growing, and together we can turn narcissism on its head so that we can collaborate together by sharing our knowledge to help educate the public so they, you, I, me, we will no longer be victimized by the narcissist, as they will no longer be able to use us as a source of feeding. This course I provide shares with you extra video that coincides with each chapter, and these videos are not available publicly. I also share with you deeper insight, biblically based on your own trauma and pain. I share with you a deep dive exercise in forgiveness and how learning to forgive can help you lift the veil of shame and doubt, which leads you to self-worthiness. Because the narcissist is self-loathing, they want us to self-loathe as well. They want to make us like they are, but we cannot become who they are. It's not in us to become anything less than who we truly are. You were created with purpose and with a divine design. My e-coaching program shows you exactly what that divine design was for, as I share with you that the narcissist was meant to introduce you to you. Although their way is unconventional and abusive, you do have the power now to turn their power over and put it back on you in an upright position. You have the power within you to invert their power and use it for your gain instead of your loss. The narcissist does not have power over you. They never did. Once you begin to see the beauty of your worth, you will understand that the narcissist is someone God used to help you. The enemy wanted to use the narcissist, his own child, against you to destroy you by dismantling your soul. God, however, had bigger plans. Your will to fight and stay alive dictates to whom you belong to. God has us uniting together to share our stories, to help build one another up. We are standing in the gap for one another, and those of us who have learned, and those of us who have healed, who are healing by seeing the narcissist for who they truly are here to help you if you want it. Now, the narcissist is mean and nasty. They are evil. They are toxic and abusive. Your victimization should never be dismissed. You have a voice and you should tell your story if that is what you feel you need to do. However, my concern for you is that you do not allow your story to be all that there is. Lend your story room for healing and growth. Lend to your story empowerment by seeing the victimization as a gain and no longer a loss. The narcissist loses all power over you when you begin to realize how God used the enemy to build you up and make you stronger and not tear you down. God's strength that is within you is greater because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. This is something we together as a group of empowered women discover as we come together in unity by divine design. We have the power to put an end to the victimization of the narcissist. By educating our sisters, we have given ourselves a voice and empowerment as we empower our femininity to rise above, to become stronger than the narcissist. God says, resist the enemy and he will flee. When we resist the enemy, to go within and unpack the pain and trauma, to understand our enemy within, we begin to befriend ourselves. We put an end to the frenemy we are to ourselves that the narcissist was sent to expose. Oh, the narcissist uses us. They use the little child inside of us to pit her against the woman we are. The enemy outside of us in the form of the narcissist monopolizes and manipulates the enemy within in attempts that we self-destruct, just like the narcissist. Oh, the narcissist does self-destruct. We have seen that many times and time again, have we not? Every devaluation phase, the discard we encounter, they are disposing us so that we won't be exposed to who they truly are. They do this to us so that they don't do it to themselves. It's their form of self-preservation. This is shallow and self-defeating. Our self-preservation comes in the form of self-defining, and it is in these defining moments when we form a relationship with ourselves. Then can we form relationships with others that are solid, deep, and long-lasting. We are all in this together, and although you may not want to hear another word about narcissism, I invite you to check out the other videos on this YouTube channel. I invite you to watch my videos as I share with you these videos as God shared with me as I was healing from narcissistic abuse. When you are ready, I invite you to join me in my women's group, From Street Bike to Limousine, as we share in our stories of the crimes the narcissists used against us as a pivot point to propel us into our liberation and divine femininity. This group takes you on a deep dive, self-awareness course that liberates you from pain and trauma as we laugh and cry together and empower one another to just keep going. Let's encourage one another by becoming each other's advocate of healing. Let's share our healing journey together and be the voice heard that cries in the dark. You are worthy, my girlfriend. You are my sister in arms, and without you sharing your story, I would not be here today. Your story helped me to become aware of what narcissism is 8 years ago. And now I'd like to share with you the next step to our healing journey, to let go and let God, as God has the perfect way that leads to our healing and liberation. The scars of narcissism do not define you. The tread marks of the street bike made in the form of the bad boy image you once were attracted to will fade as you learn to hold your head up high and expose your heart to the one who holds importance. You're feminine woman. I hope that by comparing the narcissist to a vampire, you can now see the hold the narcissist has by using your codependency against you, as codependency is not a bad thing. It's necessary, as it has everything to do with the character of love. And that's what I share with you in the coaching course, using my book, Narcissism, the Bad Boy Image. Codependency and narcissism need to be married together, as when they are exercised in a healthy way, this helps us to define ourselves in a way that is protecting, as it sets us on the journey of self-love. Self-love is preserving, as love, according to God's definition, is his character, and holding ourselves to this love for ourselves and others help us to understand that when we are evenly yoked in healthy codependence, we don't need any sort of supply. Love just freely gives. Love is a journey in life, and you are well on your way to being love and finding it, having it, and never losing it. Here's to you, lovely lady. May you be encouraged by this video, and may you smile at yourself again today, because you are a woman worthy to celebrate. Be blessed.